Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Oh boy, this statement is so true. Somewhere there is a guy living off of a gal who's living off the state, and he still thinks he's the man of the house. How true. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by, I hope we get some patriots to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours on a frosty, I'm trying to be kind to it, it's doggone cold out there, 11 degrees right now. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. You stop in any one of the 7 locations, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And some of our fantastic advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb, and thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which he stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hold on a second. I've got to make sure I understand who this is because the voice sounds familiar. This isn't, I hear the train a-coming, is it?
Boy, you're good. You must have a memory and a half.
God bless you, man. Good to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, that man does a great job on Johnny Cash songs. Weather forecast coming up right now, brought to you by K&R Rental. And, of course, they're located at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Oh, they've got heaters. And you probably need some heaters this morning. They've got heaters for construction, electric, propane, all kinds of construction equipment, the backhoes, everything, and air compressors. If you haven't blown out those sprinkler lines, I'll bet you it's a little chunky with ice right now, but they've got all the equipment with the best of tools and equipment for you to finish any project at K&R Rental. Roger gets there early in the morning at 7 o'clock, and they're located right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. We'll tell you more right after the weather with Gina.
Milder temperatures for today, and it looks like we're going to be warming up as we get towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, just a very slight breeze, and looking at a high of 34 tonight. Nice and clear. It is going to get cold, low of 12 tomorrow. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 44. East wind is about 6 miles an hour, changing to the west by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of about 16. By Friday, looks like sunny skies with a high of 43. Overnight low of 19. Saturday, warming up to about 50, and Sunday, 52. That's what's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Now that I can take, 50, 52, that sounds good on my knees, my hip, and my broken bones, and my arthritis. I can take that, but you get down here at 11 degrees. That's too cold for me. Weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. As I said, easy to find right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call and get information, 678-3122. I want to remind you, too, if I can quickly, I got some birthdays I need to acknowledge, and I did not get this on Monday's program, and I'm sorry, I forgot. It's my fault. This lady had a birthday last Sunday. Rhoda Davis, happy birthday to you. God's blessings to you. And today, Sam Perkins is having a birthday. Both of those wonderful ladies go to our lunch bunch, and we want to wish them a very happy birthday. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Boy, the old furnace not working right? Ooh, it's chilly out there this morning, and your toesies hit that linoleum floor, and you shot right to the moon. Well, you better make sure that your furnace is working efficiently. They've got all the furnace filters for you over there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. And they get there early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. They've been in business now for almost 7 decades. They're the best, they're the professionals, and they can prove it. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. By the way, I want to give a great big shout out, caller, I'll be right with you, to our dear friends at Denny's Restaurant, and the way they treated us and have treated us at our lunch bunch every month has been outstanding. And with Michelle and Thomas and the whole crew, it just makes it such a festive affair and atmosphere, and we really appreciate them. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland and Burley. I mean, whether you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, anytime, all the time. Absolutely great, delicious menu choices. So stop in, and your friends are going to be there. You'd better be, too, at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
My friend.
How's your blood pressure this morning?
Well, you're probably going to alter it.
Well, let's see if we can make it a little better for you. You know, Adam Schiff or Shifty or whatever you want to call him, is trying to hijack the United States Congress, at least the Democratic part of it. And the good news is he's not going to get it done because of our forefathers who had the foresight of checks and balances that the Senate can shut it down.
All I'm going to say to you is this, Keith, and you've been a good friend of me and my wife and this program for a long time, but I am at a point, and I want people to recognize and realize this, but I am at a point where I would not put anything, underline that word anything, out of the picture that the Democrats and the left are going to do against the Trump administration, against the possible reelection of Donald Trump, and against us that support him. I am very concerned. Let me give you an example real quick. This week, I've had 2 nationally known guests on my program that very vocally and without any restraint whatsoever offered that they are extremely concerned, and the words they used are this, I wrote them down, that the left will do anything to make Donald Trump not reelectable. And when you say terms like anything, that opens the Pandora's box for a real scare tactic. I'm not going to elaborate on it because I don't even want to make an inference as to what anything might be. But I don't trust the left.
Yeah, there's one statement I'd like to make, too, and that is what makes your program so great. And that's people like Tony who helped build the Ark, you know. And anyway, people like Doug and many, many others who have shown their view of what it should be or what we would like it to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's so wonderful. We have a balance there.
Well, the balance has been tipped over. There is no balance anymore. If the Democrats retain the seat leadership in the House, we're going to see more of the same baloney and tearing apart and segregation and destruction of our country. And I make no bones about it. I wouldn't vote for a Democrat if they had a gun to my head, because there's not one of them that I have any admiration or respect for their platform against the United States, our Constitution, and moral values. I can't say it any plainer than that, can I?
No, you can't, but I'll tell you what, if Trump is reelected, which I hope he will be, after 4 years, the Democrats are going to have this country in such a fix that we're just going to be done for, because it'll be beyond repair.
I can't argue that, because it's an intangible that I don't even want to think about. Keith, I appreciate it, my dear friend. God bless you, man. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right with you. Caller number 2, I want to remind everybody quickly about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Now, Dr. Bill and his staff really care. Underline that word, C-A-R-E, about your animals. And they know that the fall and the winter, especially with these cold mornings, animals need a lot of fresh water. And if you're just sticking a pan out there or a little tub and it freezes up, that's not doing the job, and it's hurting their health. Make sure that they've got adequate supplies of water continually throughout the day. And if you haven't followed up on your vaccinations, you better get that done too. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Number to call 678-1177, where they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Real quick, caller, I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service too, and they do a job that you and I don't want to be involved in. I'll tell you, not in the cold or the chill or anything else, but they do it, and they give you the best of fast, fair, friendly service. They are good. How do I know? They've worked for us, and they are really good. Septic tank pumping and liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, backhoe services, all of this, and the list goes on and on. And they've expanded their business to better serve more of you. Dino's Septic Service, 436-6526 or 678-1638. With a big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You mentioned about waste and so forth. Look at taxpayer monies being wasted on these hearings. And it's just unbelievable. But the thing that concerns me the most is the fact that there's a certain percentage in some of the states that do not have a paper trail on ballots. In other words, there's no paper ballot. It's all electronic, and you can make the switches there real easily. I think that's already happened. But you take the battleground states of Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, so forth, you can bet they're going to try and get all of them. They're going to cheat. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. And the Republicans don't seem to be concerned about that, Zeb.
Well, Adrian, I'm not going to say they are going to cheat, because that's a supposition that you don't know. You don't know it. I don't know it. I'm assuming that they may cheat, but it's not a supposition or a done deal that they are. I'm very concerned about it. But what they're doing in a very insidious fashion right now, but yet very smart, is they're planting the seed that Trump is illegal. Trump is very bigoted. Trump is this. Trump is that. And we had to impeach him because he's so evil, and we tried to impeach him, or whatever the verbiage is that they want to put forth. And what they're doing is painting a picture to the American public of don't vote for Trump again in 2020. The Democrats are really, really good about negativity, and they are spreading it.
Well, that's true, but I think I'm not so worried about that, because I think that people have realized this witch hunt's been going on before he was even inaugurated.
That's right.
One witch hunt after another. It's Russia, Ukraine, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Everybody knows Adam Schiff is a consummate liar. I mean, he should get the Pinocchio Award for the decade for sure, because the guy, he made up the parody about just reading the transcript from the Ukraine thing. Yeah. That alone should just, and of course the House wouldn't censor him because he's controlled by the liberal Democrats, and so we need to be contacting our legislative people in Washington and say, what is being done to keep the Democrats from stealing the next election? Because I think in a legitimate election, Trump would definitely win.
I can't argue that, and I certainly hope so. I would love, and I mean this when I say this, the Democratic Party as it is today, with the so-called leadership by Nancy Pelosi, Chucky Schumer, and others, especially the very disgusting personalities of Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell and others, I would love to see a complete fragmentation and a do-over, build-over, because they absolutely do not have anything that I think offers America betterment.
Well, no, they don't have a positive program. It's just go after Trump. And the reason, of course, they go after Trump is because he's not part of the establishment.
That's right.
As long as they had a Republican or a Democrat that was part of the establishment, it was just the good old boys club back there. And so nothing was really accomplished. All we did was get into these no-win wars. We haven't won a war since World War II. We just get a lot of people shot up and maimed and killed. And what have we accomplished? And, of course, it's nice to get that Baghdadi guy out of there and whoever else. But, taking a stand against evil is what we need to do.
I couldn't agree more. I agree.
Fight everybody else's wars for them.
I agree.
Have enough manpower to do that.
I agree. Adrian, always good to hear from you, and I appreciate your points. I got to run and do some commercials. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget.
This global warming's not working very well. Thank you. Bye now.
I appreciate that. Don't forget, Mark Rosa wants to be your mayor in Heyburn, and he wants your vote on November 5th, and he says he has new ideas for Heyburn. He's a man that's invested in the community, and he says the people of Heyburn, need smart leadership that will keep taxes and utility rates in line with neighboring cities, and he also will not overturn the will of the people by pushing through items that were voted down. Don't forget, on November 5th, vote for Mark Rosa for Heyburn Mayor, and paid for by Mark Rosa for Mayor Committee. Thank you very much. I want to remind you, too, there is a big, really underline that word big sale going on Friday night at Redder Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. It's one night only, Friday night. Put it on your calendar. Be there from 4 to 9 p.m., and it's going to be ripping good. They're going to have at Redder Showcase free gifts for the first 50 customers that go through the door. Papa Kelsey cinnamon rolls. They're going to have all kinds of special drawings, and on Serta Queen Set mattress, KitchenAid, and your choice of wall art. They're going to have a lot of factory representatives there. Woo! Better be there. Redder's Showcase Friday night from 4 to 9. Great big sale for you at 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, I make no bones about it. Am very, very concerned and very watchful that what's going to happen is more of a deterioration, denigration, and destruction of anything good about the Trump administration by the Democrats, which makes a lot of people that really are not tuned in to deciphering and figuring out their own content of the news, and I think it's going to hurt. I really, really do. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's my turn, and the Burley Senior Center today on South Overland, we're having ham and cheese quiche. That will be a good lunch, and they'll throw in a few vegetables and salads and cook's choice for dessert. Only $5.
I've got to ask you a question, Joe. Do real estate people eat quiche?
Can't hear you very good this morning, Jeb. I'm going to have to pass.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, God bless you. We'll send everybody over to the Senior Center. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I guess he's gone, so I don't know why he couldn't hear me this morning, but I apologize for that. Joe Taylor, and don't forget to get over to the Senior Center. Great lunch, $5. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, let's shift gears just a little bit. Good baseball game last night. But Nancy and Schumer ought to be happy. They've got another crybaby in Washington. The manager, I thought it was really a bad deal at the end of the ball game, the way he carried on and got himself ejected from the ball game. I guess he had to earn his money somehow.
You know, wait a minute, though. Let's be fair. Come on now. This isn't anything new. Managers have been ejected out of numerous uncountable baseball games. It's happened before in the World Series. Bobby Cox of the Atlanta Braves was bounced. So don't just pick on Martinez of the Washington Nationals, because he's not the only one.
Well, I didn't like it. I know he had a right to protest, but I didn't like the way he carried on.
Well, I can agree with you there. I'm in agreement with you there, my friend.
Have a good day.
All right, God bless you. Now, I'm not going to be so subjective to criticizing a baseball manager when calls seem to be building up against your team. I'm not going to criticize him. I will say that sometimes the body language and or the yelling and screaming, etc., he was bounced, but he's not the one and only, certainly not. Other managers have been bounced in World Series games. Again, I want to mention, I remember vividly Bobby Cox of the Braves being bounced, and it happens all the time during the regular season. I mean, this is big money. This is big money sport. And if you feel the call's not right, you're going to be vocal about it. Now, do I agree with going to the extreme? No. But I'm not going to criticize the manager. I'm not. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Now I'm going to get yelled at for that. Don't forget, too, this weekend, starting on Friday night with the early bird sale at Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. And then Saturday, they're going to have another first of the month sale, and they've got all their great, wonderful Christmas home decor. Oh, you better get in there. And don't forget, they've got all kinds of embroidery for the different things on vests and shirts and jackets and everything. Oh, my, and the very best from Carhartt, Nike, Adidas, Bell Canvas, North Face. And if you mention my name, Zeb Bell, you get a free digitizing, so it's up to a $50 value. Woo-hoo! Nicole and the great staff at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. You be over there on Friday night and Saturday, okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, quickly, I also want to mention that on Mondays we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert at exactly 8:30, or within 30 seconds one way or the other. And I urge you to go over. They've got a wonderful restaurant, fantastic bakery at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. All right, now it's your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244. I want to get this out, that the California wildfires, and I want to spend some time on this. I have quite a bit of information on this story that I'm about ready to throw at you. The California wildfires did not have to happen. The California wildfires were basically started by ignition of a high wire on a tree limb, and there's validated proof of this. The California wildfires did not have to expand to the absolute danger that they are right now. Now, there was a story put out, and I just got it this morning. It was put out late yesterday afternoon. And I just got it this morning, and it was written by Jarrett Stepman. And Jarrett really went through the entirety of what really happened and is happening in California. And he makes a very big, dark headline that says, California blackouts are a self-inflicted mess. Don't just blame PG&E for the new dark ages. And I want to spend some time here right now and point my finger at our Idaho Power and their cowardice to come on this program and answer questions about their moving to 100% green energy. Now, the quotes that I am going to give you right now are from this story by Jared Stepman. And he says, and I quote, that from former California Assemblyman Chuck DeVore, who now lives in Texas, they sat down and they talked about this problem. And it was said, and I quote, renewable energy has been prioritized over reliable infrastructure, while there has been an uptick of vulnerable power lines to connect distant wind farms to urban centers. It was stated PG&E shifted its priority to the overpriced renewables at the behest of politicians. Now listen to this one. For years, the utility skimped on safety upgrades and repairs while pumping billions into green energy and electric car subsidies to please its overlords in Sacramento. And it's estimated that long-term contracts with developers of renewables cost the utility, hold on to your hats, $2.2 billion with a B dollars annually, more than current market power rates. There you go. There you go. And not only that, poor land management, another major contributing factor to the uptick in massive wildfires because of all the fuel that has not been harvested. That's not me talking. That is straight from a story of explanation by Jared Stepman. And yet we have our Idaho Power that is hiding under their desk, like cowards, will not come on this program to answer questions about green energy, renewable energy, with the solar and the wind. And then we read stories out of California by people that know and do know about the extreme costs of switching over to it. And then you wonder, where in the world are we headed? And being led by the nose by our Idaho Power. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, let me just tell you, when the environmentalists won't let the PG&E go out and maintain their lines or build new ones because everything has to have an environmental impact statement. The average time for an environmental impact statement, and it's designed to be this way, is 15 years to decide whether or not you're going to affect the environment in a harmful way. And now, you know, what they're doing down there, it's slipping into a mess. It's beyond a mess. It's a joke. And again, when Gavin Newsom lectures people about what they're doing, PG&E, you see, you get to the point, Zeb, where the words don't even, there is nothing you can say to describe these people, because hypocrites is an understatement till hell won't have it.
Randy,
I don't know what we do.
Well, wait a minute. Let me interrupt and make it a two-way conversation. I don't know what else to do. I asked in a very polite fashion to have them come on my program, and they slammed the door in my face. They will not answer questions. Maybe they'll go on another news source and answer questions that are softball questions by somebody that they've got a rope around their neck, but they wouldn't come on this program, and I find that to be cowardice. Pure cowardice. Do you have any disagreement with that?
Very much cowardice. It's appalling. And then they run fluffy ads that act like it doesn't matter what it's going to cost for these farmers and dairymen and whoever else. All of us. And they don't care.
Listen to this last line.
Of environmentalists, and the environmentalists are sinking, are entrenched in our government here in Idaho to a degree. I don't know what. I tell you what, man, they're going to tear us apart just like they've destroyed California.
Listen.
Here. I drove past last Friday, I drove right past Idaho Power main office, and I was just so tempted. But it's a massive complex, and I just wanted to go in and raise hell. But you see, it wouldn't have meant nothing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have meant nothing. They wouldn't have cared.
Well, Randy, wait, let me get in here a little bit, man. We can't have one side here. I love having you call, but we got to go back and forth a little bit. I've asked, and I'm going to keep on asking, that they come on the program. I've asked some of our political leadership to ask and see if they won't come on this program and explain all the questions that might be asked of green energy. But the story that was written by this Jarrett Stepman, one of the last lines in the story kind of sums it up. It says, quote, "The current blackouts are ultimately the result of short-term reality and long-term dysfunctional governance." That sums it up.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And the people that live down there, you'd say, are you people going to actually realize why this is occurring to you? Can you imagine if you had a business down there and you would have blackouts, and you were milking cows, whatever.
Yeah.
Running pivots.
Yeah.
And you couldn't run them. You know how many, this is what I learned yesterday, that the amount of generators down in California is massive because they have no choice. Well, can you imagine what they do when they all kick on them generators and what that does to the environment? You see how there's the logic, there is no logic.
There is no logic, there is no common sense, and I appreciate your call. I got others backed up, and Randy, God bless you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Caller number 2, bear with me. I've got about 60 seconds of commercials I've got to get in here real quick. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. You know that they've got 3 locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and Napa's location. And you know they've got all the big dudes to help you with all the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, the grading, the leveling. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, and they've got all the Bobcats, and they've got them at purchase rates, financing rates, and great rental rates. I mean, you need to get in there and check it out today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. They're waiting right now to serve you. Also, real quick, our friends Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox all teamed up to offer the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Make yourself comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Can you tell me the difference between Bonneville Power and Idaho?
No, and I'm not even going to get into that as far as the differences are concerned, because it doesn't make any difference to me right now to discern the problem over and above from Idaho Power. And I'm not trying to sound short with you, but I'm not going to go in and define differences, because if I make a mistake or if I say the wrong thing about one company over the other, I'm opening myself up for a lot of problems. So I'm not going to define their differences. I have an argument with Idaho Power per se, period. And their cowardice of not coming on this program, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
I think you've made yourself perfectly clear.
I don't try to do anything else.
Well, you know, Idaho Power has deliberately tried to shut us down. Us people who want to know why all these things are the way they are. They just say, just go take your seat and shut up.
Well, it's no wonder that Idaho Power doesn't want to answer questions about green energy. Really, when you think about it, how are they going to answer when you've got proof right here of what's going on around us, especially one of our states very close to us, California, when they come right out and say that PG&E, the main power company in California, shifted its priority to the overpriced renewables at the behest of politicians. I mean, it's all there, Keith. What more do you need?
Well, about California, and you brought up something that I did not know, that it was probably a limb or something.
Yeah.
That ignited the fire.
Yeah, they had somewhat of a video.
Get out there and take care of those things.
Yeah, they had somewhat of a video confirmation of this.
Got another way to get money out of our pocket.
Yeah, they had video confirmation on this, but it's not just that. Believe me, I'm not going to point the finger just at PG&E. That would be wrong. The problem is because of the stupid, underline that word, environmental stance of not clearing away brush, getting rid of deadfalls, making the forests more healthy, and not having such a firestorm of all these wood products, brush, everything else just burning, just out of control. This should have been cleaned up. And I don't know if the philosophy of the legislature in California with any of the Democrats, if they're smart enough to realize that they have created a huge oops, and it's got to be changed.
You know, they need to take a little advice from the homeowners. You have a home, and if you don't take care of it, it will deteriorate, and you will no longer have it. And that's exactly what's happening to Idaho Power.
You want to hear what we might have happen in the state of Idaho because of Idaho Power going green with renewables? Listen to this. Here's another sentence from the story written by Jarrett Stepman. It says, quote, "Now, in large parts of California, if you want to keep the lights on during the blackouts, you better have a flashlight or a gas lamp. 21st century green dreams have led to 19th century realities." How can it be any more clear than that?
I think we need to manufacture more candles for those folks.
Well, I'm just fed up with the cowardice and the arrogance of Idaho Power for not coming on this program and answering questions. I find it despicable. Some people might say, well, they don't like you, Zeb. Well, that's obvious. I mean, that's obvious. They don't like me. But the point is, they owe the public explanations, and they're too cowardly. Thanks, Keith. Got to run. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm thankful that I have Burley Power that is furnished by Bonneville Power, so
all right.
They can't shut my power off just because I don't like Idaho Power.
All right, buddy. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind everybody the Bennett boys are going to have a ripping good auction on this Friday, November 1st. It's the Carl and Diane Leg Moving Auction. It's at 1430 Poplar Street in Twin Falls. You can't miss it. Look for the auction signs. And this is a beautiful sale. I'm telling you, they are the former owners of my grandfather's attic, a 38-year-old collection of beautiful quality furniture. I'm looking at the furniture on the front of the sale bill, and it is phenomenal. Dining room furniture, living room furniture, bedroom furniture, master bedroom furniture, all sorts of beautiful wood-crafted furniture. You're going to love this. On Friday, this Friday, November 1st, starting at 5:30 p.m. in the evening, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys sell them all. This one in Twin Falls on Poplar Street Friday night. Don't miss it. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I read somewhere, too, and I'm trying to remember where it was at, that if you've got solar power or backup power in California, when they have the rolling blackouts, you're not allowed to use it.
I have had that same story, and I'm trying to find it as you speak in my pile of papers. But Keith, pardon me, Doug, when you hear this story, written by a gentleman by the name of Jarrett Stepman, talking about what's really going on in California, and quoting former California Assemblyman Chuck DeVore, now living in Texas, how can you dispute the facts, for heaven's sakes?
You can't. Facts are facts. I'll take facts over somebody's truth any day, because facts don't lie.
And what's to say, Doug? What's to say that scenario that we're talking about in California with renewable energy that has been prioritized over reliable infrastructure, we in Idaho are not going to have the same problem.
We'll have exactly the same problem. I mean, even Ray Charles could see that this ain't going to work. It's the government can what they're doing in California, they want to do all over the United States.
Yeah.
California is what the United States will look like if it's run by 100% Democrats like California is.
You've made the statement on this program many, many times, and we've talked about, I think, the complete lunacy of electric cars. I read this briefly a few moments ago, but I want you to think about this and give me a quick quote because I've got a weather forecast coming up. It says in the story, and I'm quoting, "For years, the utility," and they're referring to PG&E, "skimped on safety upgrades and repairs while pumping billions of dollars," that's with a B, "into green energy and electric car subsidies to please its overlords in Sacramento." What does that tell you?
That tells me there's a lot of kickback going on. It tells me that they're in the pockets of the politicians, and the politicians make sure that there's a little bit goes their way, so these guys will go. It's crony capitalism is what I'm seeing in it.
When you're talking about $2.2 billion, billion with a B, annually, going to renewable energy that's not working, isn't it time to maybe look back over your shoulder and say, oh my Lord, what have we done?
Well, exactly. And one thing, if you start just say you're starting a business, and let me look here, advertisement. Anyway, so you start a business, and it's not going to pay for itself, so you get your neighbors say, hey, give me so much money so I can run this business, so you can subsidize me so I can live off of it. That's exactly what's going on with the green energy, with the wind turbines. They will not produce enough electricity in their lifetime.
No.
Because they wear out. They will not produce enough electricity in their lifetime to offset the cost.
Yeah, and the chaos that's going on in California right now, and I'm going to be on the phone trying to get some of my friends from some of the burn areas on this program next week. But it says right here, the blackout, which has hit cities all throughout Northern California, is causing complete chaos. Businesses have had to shut down. People cannot go to work. And in some blacked out areas, curfews have been put in place to prevent more crime. I mean, it's just absolutely an uncivilized chaos down there, all because of government control and government manipulation.
The Green New Deal in California is all it is.
Yeah, and why can't we sit right here in the studio and have a representative from Idaho Power address these issues and look him right in the eye, or her, and ask these questions? Well, if it's happening in California, why can't it happen here? But they're hiding under their desk, like I've said many times. They're locking the door on their closet, and they won't answer any questions.
Well, that's why, because they have no answers. They have no answers, Zeb. There is no rational answer that the Green New Deal or green energy will pay for itself. What's going on in California will happen all across the U.S. if they push this Green New Deal, where we have to rely on renewable energy.
Yeah, and they'll come out with these fluffy little cloud lovely commercials that make everybody feel warm and fuzzy, and then behind the scenes they will denigrate me and my program and kind of poo-poo us along, but the whole thing boils down to this. There are representatives in Twin Falls, there are representatives in Boise that I've contacted. They're cowards.
Yep.
Got to run.
Don't want to face the truth. So anyway, let's do what we can for our senior centers, guys. It's coming up, the holiday season. It's the giving season, Think about donating monthly to the senior center to help them out.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you so much. Time for the weather. Actually, it's past time for the weather. And Mount Harrison Audiology, they are very thankful to serve the local veterans' hearing health care needs through the VA Community Care Program. And during the week of 11th through the 15th of November, they asked the veterans to stop by the office in Rupert to receive a small gift as a token of the gratitude for the veterans' service. And by the way, they're located just north of the Minidoka Memorial Hospital in Unit 2. Wonderful people serving your hearing health care needs. Make an appointment. Have a hearing screening. Number 208-417-8799. That number again, 208-417-8799. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, and it looks like we're going to be warming up as we get towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, just a very slight breeze, and looking at a high of 34 tonight. Nice and clear. It is going to get cold, low of 12 tomorrow. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 44. East wind is about 6 miles an hour, changing to the west by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of about 16. By Friday, looks like sunny skies with a high of 43. Overnight low of 19. Saturday, warming up to about 50, and Sunday, 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, wonderful people treating your hearing loss and your hearing health, and that's Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. That number to call again for an appointment. Do it today, please. 208-417-8799. Caller, I've got 2 minutes left, and you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I hope I can talk. It's cold on this global warming day. But you have comments about the power companies and all this. When the power companies wanted to put the power lines through Cassia County, one of the things that they were telling all of the landowners and anybody around them was that they wanted the lines to go through on private property, because if there is a fire, and I've looked as I drive along, and there's all kinds of power poles, weeds and stuff growing around there. If you burn those weeds, or you burn a tree, or whatever, and it catches on that pole on fire, or the smoke arcs the line, you're the one that's liable. That's why they want it on private property. So they don't have to pay for it. They can come after the landowner.
Well, you know, there's so many twists and turns in a story like this regarding the devastation and the complete heartache that's going on in California right now. But going back to the original concept of this story, caller, and give me a real short answer on this because I'm almost out of time. The whole thing boils down to California has been duped into an environmental mess of not cleaning up the forests, not getting rid of all the excess fuel, and also by going with renewable energy that's costing billions of dollars, and that's where we're headed right here in Idaho.
Absolutely. And if we don't keep the corridors cleaned up, if we don't go in and take out the deadfall, we're going to have the same thing here. The earth will take care of it. If we don't, in these natural ways, then it'll be done naturally.
Absolutely. Thank you for your call. I really appreciate it. Stay warm out there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. You know, I'm not going to quit. I think Idaho Power thought that, oh, well, Zeb, he'll go away. He'll forget about this and go on to another subject. I don't think so. Right now, I'd like to remind you about our major sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they're having a great big fall tire sale where you can save money, like save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires. Boy, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and Les Schwab Tire Centers in general have all been doing the right thing since 1952. Absolutely. With the best of tires and front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh, I wonder how many people realized the last couple of mornings, gee, I should have had my battery checked. Well, they've got it all for you, including the best of service to you and your automobile at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I want to say this, and I mean it. There will probably be people trying to shut me up. There will be people trying to get me off the air. That's a gimme. But you have to be honest with yourself. If I'm throwing out all the information and backing it up with written verification, who really is the liar? Who really is the person or group that's trying to cover up the truth? It's not me. And therefore, I issue one more time. Idaho Power, please crawl out from under your desk. Oh, don't bump your head. And come on the program and answer questions about green energy. We're going to take a little break right now, go to the news. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, good morning, and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations right now with a big fall tire sale. Don't forget to stop in today. And a great host of advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, don't forget, get on the route service. How do you get on the route service? It's so easy. Just call them at 734-6969. Tell them where you live, and presto, they'll put you on the route service, and your garbage is gone. It's gone. It's out of there. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. I got to take care of a couple of other business issues, and right now I want to talk about a lady that's wanting your vote on November 5th for re-election of being the mayor of Heyburn, Idaho, and that's Heyburn Mayor Cleo Gallegos. That's right. She has worked tirelessly for over 20 years in city government to make Heyburn a place to be really, really proud of, and she wants to enable citizens to have unprecedented access to city government with open-door policies and quick response times. She wants your vote to be reelected as mayor of Heyburn, Cleo Gallegos, and paid for by Cleo Gallegos for mayor, and that, of course, being on November the 5th. Another little note that I have here this morning, I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You know, I've been going there for quite some time. For first of all my knee, then my hip, and then on my shoulders, and what a job they do trying to put old Humpty Dumpty back together again. And they will do the same for you. Excellent people over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists really know their stuff. And they recently also, Nick, bought Elite Fitness at 1200 Oakley Avenue in Burley. So there you can work out and stay in shape. And then over at Burley Physical Therapy, if there's an injury or a surgery to recoup from, they can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. One more good word, and I can see old David chomping on the bit over there, but I want to remind everybody about our friends and your friends that really care and provide families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. I'm talking about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. The number to call, please write this down, 436-5636. And they always uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert with Joel Heward. And also, Joel is serving people at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. All right, let's go to the phone line. And it's time on Wednesdays for my buddy back in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I know he's kind of strutting around like a big old toad because his Indianapolis Colts, they've got a pretty good team this year. Good morning, Dave Bigo.
Good morning, Zeb. Yeah, we're happy they won. And now if we could just get our Pacers to win a game, we'd be much happier.
Well, I'll tell you what, you do seem to have a void that was filled by, or emptied because of Luck's retirement, but this Brissett seems to be a pretty doggone good quarterback.
He is, and he's a big guy, and he does a good job, and, he's pretty concentrated all the time, so we're happy with him.
Dave, I want to get really serious on the program at this juncture, and I've had it. I'm sure you've had it. A lot of America has had it with this muckraking in the feedlot, more than muck, of the Democrats just absolutely doing anything and everything they can to dig up like whack-a-mole and find more people, more instances, more situations to hurt and denigrate President Trump and his possible reelection. This thing is getting completely out of hand.
Well, Zeb, I have said this many times on your show. It's going to get worse, and we're still a year away from the election, so imagine how much worse it's going to get in the next 12 months. And it's going to get ugly, and they're going to keep looking for every darn thing they can to bring him down. And part of the other thing is, and I don't know that I've said this before, but part of it is they want to put so much pressure on him and get him so just, his backbone sinks and he just decides to back out himself.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these tactics are about.
No, I think you're 100% right. And as a matter of fact, a couple of months ago on the program, I had a segment that I created that was called What If? What if all of a sudden Donald Trump says, I've had it. I can't take the strain. My family can't take the strain. I'm done. I quit. And he closes the Oval Office for the last time and walks away. What then? You want to see things in complete disarray? That would be then.
Well, that's right, and this is what they try to do. And, in my book, The Devil at Our Doorstep, I talk about a businessman here in Indiana that read my first book, The Devil at My Doorstep, and we had breakfast together, and he says, Dave, I read your book, and I support everything you did and the backbone you had and how you stood up and won and, went through all this trash that they put you through. And he says, but I'll tell you what, Dave, he says, I couldn't have done it. He says, I couldn't have done it mentally or psychologically. I couldn't, monetarily, I would have spent the money and all that kind of stuff. And he says, quite honestly, Dave, 96% of the businessmen in this country wouldn't do it. And this is what the other side looks at. They look at it and say, most people, a very small percentage, are going to stand up and keep putting up with it. They're going to just back out and go away.
Dave, I want to be really careful how I phrase this, and I think you'll understand why. But two of my guests this week, national known people that have been on my program many times before, have intimated, and they've been very careful about their choice of words, that the left today is capable of doing anything, and they underline that word anything, to not let Trump be president for 4 more years. That is really scary when you have two nationally known people in politics on your program, and they're starting to really worry about how far the left will go.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any limit. I think they'll do whatever they think they need to do to either get him impeached or get him to bow out, and that's what this is all about. And but the other side of it, if he stands in there and does a good job and is professional about what he does, the big percentage of American voters are going to get tired of this stuff, and they'll start leaning towards him. But again, it's being able to stand in there and take all this attacks and everything that they do and their tactics that they use. And I've been through it. I understand it.
You know, I got to ask you this. I did not like Obama. I just absolutely detested the man and his politics. But I never said or did anything that would show disrespect for the presidency and the Oval Office. The other night at the World Series game, I was absolutely enraged, and I still haven't found that pencil I was holding in my hand. I threw it someplace. When President Trump was announced to the crowd at the World Series game at Washington National Stadium, and so many boos, so many impolite and absolutely awkward boos against our President of the United States, right after the special ops team had gone in and killed Baghdadi, one of the worst terrorists ever in world time.
Yeah, and it's not surprising to me. You look at the environment there, a big part of Washington is unionized, and they have a lot of leftists there because of that, and they band together. Plus, you know, you've got Major League Baseball, where you have athletes that are unionized, and so you just have a bunch of these leftists coming together and doing these things to get people to bring Trump down. And you know, I'm sure they went around and talked to a lot of these people, and then they had their own group that started the cheers, everybody on board, and this is what they do, Zeb. And the American people need to understand that this isn't about President Trump. This is about them wanting to control us and take over this country. And I don't know if you saw the other day, but a poll came out that 30% of millennials think that communism is great and we need to be communist.
Well, I don't mean to correct you, but the polls are up as high as 70%. 70%. And the polls are like noses. Everybody's got one. But, you know, some of these polls are absolutely scary, that 70% of the college students think that communism/socialism would be better for them. I mean, what is going on in this country? What happened, Dave? What happened to pride in our country? What happened to teachers standing in front of the class and leading the Pledge of Allegiance? What happened to a pride of all the blood, sweat, and tears and lives that have been given and provided so that we can have a free country? I'm at a total loss as to what's happened in this country and why we're letting it continue.
Zeb, it's real simple, and I think I've said this before. They're trying to bring us down from within, and you know, the left has been controlling our education for the last 30, 40 years, and they've been brainwashing kids into, you know, that communism, socialism's good, and all this stuff. And they did that so that as we moved along and they started dominating politics, they could use these kids to help them get the domination they finally needed and take over. And that's what they're trying to get close to here now. Since they have the House, they want to get Trump out of the White House, and they want to control the Senate. And if they control all three, that's when they're going to change this country. And you know, there was another poll, and this is a 70% one, that 70% of Americans believe we're going to have a civil war. It's imminent.
Dave, I'm sitting here, and I've said this many times to you, but it doesn't seem to get a lot of public response. We need to do something. I mean, it's not just sit on the sidelines and go, oh boy, I hope the coach does something. It's time for the people to do something, whether it's education, whether it's in our politics. I don't care where it is, whether it's in the workplace. We are bordering and literally with our boots on the edge of the cliff of falling into an abyss of total chaos in this country because of a lack of values, a lack of moral values, and a lack of political values. And something's got to happen soon. I'm not trying to make this up or make it theatrical. You know as well as I do that's true.
Well, it is, but you got to understand something. The unions control our education system because, you know, most of the teachers across this country are unionized. So they control what they teach and what they say and what they do. And the teachers aren't going to stand up because they're scared to death. They get intimidated by the union bosses. And so that's not going to happen. In politics, the Democrats, they're controlled by the unions. And I think I've told you this before. one gal in my book who works in California, she has to be a member of the SEIU because she works for the DMV there. And they sat down and had a meeting, I think it was about a year ago or so, and the SEIU told them, we want you to understand that 45% of your union's dues is going to politics, and you better not have a problem with that, and 95% of it's going to the Democratic Party. So that tells you who the unions control, the Democratic Party. And they're behind the scenes controlling all these different areas they need to gain power and take over this country. And the people that are in these areas aren't going to stand up because they're scared to death.
I agree with you. But is that America? Being scared to death to exercise your freedoms, your rights of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment? I mean, is that where we're at today, that we have to cower in underneath our desk or in the closet and just absolutely not say or do anything because somebody like the liberal left is going to come in and squash us like a bug? Is that where we're at?
Well, that's part of it, but the rest of us need to stand up just like you're doing and I'm doing and other people and educate people what's going on and show them the light and the way. And what I'm seeing is there's more and more people that see these tactics and attacks that are going on by the left, and they're getting very frustrated by it and they don't like it. And when you talk to them, they're at the point where they're not going to support that party. Now, they may not come out and say it, in public because they don't want to be attacked by the left. But when it comes time to go to the polls and vote, they'll go in the right direction.
I was really shocked and dismayed over another issue, too, and I mentioned it just briefly a few minutes ago. The death of Abu Benghazi. I was absolutely ecstatic that he was taken care of. And Baghdadi, pardon me, I said his name wrong. And when the death was verified that the number one ISIS terrorist was killed and then the number two ISIS terrorist was killed, the liberal left press in this country and many of the Democrats, including Joe Biden, they assailed President Trump for his tone. His tone. He got out and said that he praised the special forces for the job they had done in getting rid of the vermin of Baghdadi. And yet the Democrats and the left came out and they said they thought he was too harsh on his talking about terrorism and the terrorist deaths. What in the world is going on here?
Right about that at all. Again, the media, and the press, they're controlled behind the scenes by the unions and the left, and they're told what to say, and they're going to go out and they're going to throw out stuff against Trump no matter what, and we just have to expect that all the time, understand who they are, and that they're not being honest and truthful with the American people, and the American people need to stand up and let them know that they understand that they're not being truthful.
Dave, I don't know what the thoughts are back in Indianapolis and around the area. I don't know if you're a gun owner, or I'm not even going to ask you to give me a yes or no on the air. But I am really starting to fear, underline that word fear, what these people, not only Beto O'Rourke, but also Kamala Harris and also Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and others that are trying to run for the nomination on the Democratic ticket. They really are blasting and thrashing and trying to tear up the Second Amendment and telling all gun owners, if I'm elected, I'm coming after your gun. I'm going to be on your doorstep. Woo! You talk about chaos and civil war in this country. That's an open-door invitation.
It is, and what's sad about all that is when you look at the deaths around this country, shooting deaths and that, where do they happen at? They happen in cities and areas that have gun controls and that are Democratic areas. They're not in areas that don't have gun control and are more conservative areas. I mean, you look at Chicago, and Chicago has more deaths by gun shooting than any city in the country, but New York has it, and Los Angeles, and these other big cities controlled by the the Democrats, and they have their gun control laws. And the bottom line, it doesn't work.
The thing that scared me, I was watching a black activist on television the other night that absolutely wants total gun confiscation and gun control in this country. And when asked about private citizens being able to carry their own weapons as self-protection for them and their families, this person slammed his hand down on the desk and said, "They can just call the police." This kind of a stupid, insane response for people living in rural areas, especially, that have no response time of maybe 15 minutes if they're lucky, a half hour at best, and they can't protect themselves, this is insane.
It is insane, but these are people that the left has gotten into their brains, and I'm sure in some cases that they're paying them. I don't know if I've ever telling you this, but when the SEIU attacked us, they did rallies in all the major streets across the Midwest against us. And when we went down to some of these rallies, and we talked to these people in the streets, and say, "Why are you saying these things? And why are you doing this? And where did you learn this stuff at?" And they said, "Well, this is what they told us to say." And I said, and I talked to some of these people, and they said, I said, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "Because they put a bunch of cash in our pockets."
Yeah. I've got exactly 2 minutes left, and caller, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to have to hang up. Go ahead quickly, fast, please.
Well, in Detroit, the amount of women who are having concealed carry, and I don't know how this law works, but they said, "We don't care what the law says. Our lives are at risk." And they're just doing what they've got to do. So the women are rising up in Detroit to protect themselves because nobody else will.
He brings up a really good story, Dave, because I saw that story regarding the black woman in Detroit that says, "I'm going to continue carrying a gun for my own protection." And she says, "I don't care what the law says. I'm going to protect myself and my family." Quickly, give me your response to that.
Well, I'm glad to see American people standing up and pushing back, and that's what we need them to do. And it's good to see some women doing that too.
Absolutely. Dave Vigo, the time goes too fast, and I wish you the very best. And quickly, your prognostication, who's going to win the World Series tonight?
Well, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. My guess is Houston's going to come through, but we'll see.
All right, buddy. God bless you, man. See you next Wednesday. Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Dave Vigo, author and great businessman back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Want to remind everybody about Ritter's Showcase at 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're going to have a one-night-only huge, really big that is, huge sale on Friday night, November 1st this week. They're going to have free gifts for the first 50 customers that go through the door. The sale starts at 4 in the afternoon, goes till 9 at night. Holy cow, you can toss the bean bag for additional $100 off different items in the store. They're going to have factory representatives, oh my, and up to 18 months same as cash on approved credit. You'd better be there. Where? Ritter's Showcase for their big one-night-only sale Friday, November 1st from 4 to 9, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley, Ritter's Showcase. Absolutely. Whew, I went through that so fast my lips are burning. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. And, of course, with the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Absolutely. Check it out. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. They're offering up to, right now, $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So stay comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. In just a moment, we're going to have actor, writer, and producer of a great documentary, National Anthem Girl, and that's going to be Jefferson Moore coming on momentarily. But first and foremost, I want to remind you about our friends over at Let's Ride. Oh, get your motor running. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. And I'll tell you what, maybe you've put away your toys like like all the watercraft and everything, a little icy on the water right now, and you're going to have a need for snowmobiles and snow bikes, well, they've got a great big display over there in the showroom. You better stop over and check it out today. And they're going to have on November 9th a very special open house, so stop over to Let's Ride. Great accessory departments and a super service department to keep you running. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's true, this is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see them today. And while you're over on Highway 24, I urge you to drive a little bit further down the road and stop in and see our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I was just over there the other afternoon and talked to Todd. I mean, the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and they really care. They're dedicated to serving you. All you need to do, this is all you've got to do, is just pick up the phone and call, ask for an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You get a hold of them today. I have been really anxious to have this person on my program and talk about this documentary called National Anthem Girl, and I'd like to introduce this man right now. His name is Jefferson Moore. He's an actor, a writer, and a producer, and I'm going to let him carry the ball across the line of scrimmage and tell us all about this documentary. Good morning, Jefferson Moore. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Bell. How are things in Idaho?
Well, if I could pass a quarter down the line for calling me mister, I'd plug it in the line right now. Thank you.
That's excellent.
We're a little chilly up here, as a matter of fact, Jefferson. This morning when I started the program at 8:06, it was 11 degrees.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I won't complain about the weather in Louisville then. You know, somebody's always got it worse, is what my mom always told me. So I'll be happy with our 45 degrees and rainy here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been back in your country many, many, many times, and I've always been impressed with the people, the friendships, and also the great green scenery. It's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, we like it here in Kentucky. Of course, we've got our share of the horses, which probably appeals to you, no doubt.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a great place to live. We've got a little bit of everything here.
Well, Jefferson, give me a little background on you. I mean, you've been involved in the entertainment business for a long time, as I mentioned, actor, writer, now producer. Give us a little background on you before we start talking about National Anthem Girl.
You know, purely by the grace of God, I am a wow. You look at my resume, and it looks like, you know, an unemployment line nightmare. I college dropout. I waited tables. I was a bouncer for a while. I tried it as a sales rep. I was an inventor. These were all my younger years before I got married. And then, really, quite by accident, I got into acting. Very much by accident, and it's around the same time that I got engaged to my wife, and this has been back in the early '90s, and I did a couple of plays in high school, but that was really about it. But really, for about 10 years, I made a living as a working actor in Nashville, and also worked out in L.A. for a while, and kind of made the movement behind the camera. After about 10 years of working in front of the camera, started doing some writing, and next thing you know, purely by the grace of God, because I'm not trained to do this, we have produced a dozen feature films, all in worldwide distribution. My wife works with me, and National Anthem Girl is our first documentary. But again, as far as background on me, it's like I'm the average of the average that shows that, by the grace of God, anything can happen.
You know, you said some things in that biography that I really want to elaborate on. You mentioned many times, by the grace of God. And I can tell you're a Christian. And it seems to me, and I'm also a Christian and very proud of it on this program, it seems to me that Christian films and Christian attitudes are just waiting for more of a breakout pattern in Hollywood, because these movies are making money, and these movies are selling tickets, and these movies are drawing the public to go watch them. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there is, but I think, there's always been a movement for that, and I really want to, and I don't want to step on any toes here, but you know what, we never really position ourselves to say, when we started out doing this with our first film back in 2004 called The Perfect Stranger, we never set out to do something called a quote-unquote Christian film, because in our opinion, you lose half your audience right off the bat. So instead of saying that, we're Christian filmmakers and we make Christian films, which kind of has a stigma attached to it in some circles, we like to say that we are filmmakers who tell stories based on our belief in a benevolent God and the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I love it.
Now, that's a longy way to say it, but by doing that, that has really served us well, because I tell you what, a lot of people who are Christians, people who are seekers, people who are non-believers have enjoyed our films over the years, and we love it. People just reaching across the aisle just because of the way we tell our stories, and we think that there's a place for the way that movies like Sherwood and the Kendrick brothers tell stories, and we think there's also a place for the way we tell stories, because we're all serving the same benevolent God.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to reach more people. But going back to what you said, is there an appetite for it? There's always been an appetite for good, wholesome entertainment, with a perfect sense of justice. I mean, you can go back to It's a Wonderful Life, or, the Andy Griffith Show. I've always said the Andy Griffith Show is the best Christian show ever made, but nobody called it a Christian show. They just called it good entertainment. But the same principles in the Andy Griffith Show is what goes into our films.
Absolutely. I don't think, and I'll stand toe-to-toe with anybody on this record, I don't think anyone has stood tall and erect for the national anthem more than me. I mean, thousands and thousands of rodeo performances around the United States and Canada, and also overseas in Spain, and also at the Olympics that I announced at. And that national anthem is so special to me that I still bubble up and get wet eyes every time I think of all that's been provided for me in this great country. Therein, I'm going to ask you, where did you get the concepts and the want to produce a documentary called National Anthem Girl?
Well, you know what? As filmmakers, we're always looking for a good story to tell. And, even though we've never done a documentary before, there's always in the back of our mind, we find a good subject, we find something that really appeals to us, that touches our heart, we want to tell a story about it. And again, quite by accident, we found about, and back in 2014, we found out about this young lady from Long Island. I just happened to see her on a news show one morning, again, quite by accident. And she was on this mission. At that time, she was about midway through. She was on this mission. She was telling everybody about it, to sing the national anthem in all 50 states. And I'm thinking, no, why is she doing this? She must be some famous singer. But then, after I listened a little bit more of the interview, I found out she was doing it to promote patriotism and to show gratitude for our troops. That was it. That was her motivation. It wasn't money. It wasn't fame. And shortly after that, we got in touch with her, and just on a casual basis, but the more we got to know her, the more we were inspired by her selflessness and her love of country. And after she had, I'll give you a spoiler here, she did accomplish this in 2014. She went to all 50 states and performed in these huge venues. But after she accomplished it, a couple of years had passed, and she had gotten into motivational speaking and talking to schools and corporations and doing things with the military. We got in touch with her. We said, Janine, her name is Janine Stang, and we said, Janine, what's going on with your story with what you did? And she's so humble. She said, oh, that's something, that's done. And I said, but people need to know about it. And she entrusted us with telling the story of her journey, because at the time she was a one-woman show, so she was recording things on her iPhone and local newspapers and things. And we took all that information and we said, okay, here's where she started, and here is the America she saw along the way, and here's the Americans that she touched along the way. And that is was that turned out to be our documentary, National Anthem Girl.
When you were producing this and getting really involved with her story, not only what she had to say, but what did you learn as a producer and filmmaker that shocked you or surprised you about the status of patriotism in the United States?
You know, what I did learn and what I recognized, you know, from hearing her story and meeting the people she met and seeing the Americans she met, is that we're more together than we are being told. Because someone said, "Hey, are you going to play up the angle about Colin Kaepernick or immigration? You know, since she is the granddaughter of Italian immigrants, you going to play those up?" I said, "No, that's low-hanging fruit. Plus, it divides this story. This story is not about dividing. This story is about joining." And you would not believe how easy it was to avoid all partisanship in telling the story, because nobody she met was about that. And I know she met liberals, and she met conservatives, she met Christians, she met atheists, she met people of different races and stature, but her contact just showed that we're more unified than CNN wants us to know. Because, this is my personal belief. This isn't from her. This is my personal belief. I've shared this many times. There are people in this country who stay in money and stay in power as long as the rest of us are at each other's throats.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand by that. So, this piece, like I said, this piece is not, the National Anthem Girl movie is not about partisanship or Colin Kaepernick or, you're wrong, I'm right. It's about being Americans. And, this song unites us for a reason. It is a song about gratitude.
Let me ask you this, Jefferson. Let me ask you this question then, and this is true because you've been following this now for a couple of years in the production, etc. But there is a concentrated effort by some on the left in this country to throw away, trash our national anthem and replace it with what they say is a softer song, one that's more acceptable to more people. And that's where I get fighting mad. That song, all the verses, really appeal to me as an American. What are your thoughts about people trying to change or do away with our national anthem?
I think it's a long list of things will change. And again, it goes back to what I just said. As long as there is controversy and upset and tearing down the fabric of the traditions of this country, of which that is one, just like Christmas. And, just like saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I think the national anthem is just one more little piece of a great big Jenga game that there are people that want to keep pulling out, because as long as everything stays disrupted, like the national anthem and like gratitude, gosh, what a concept. Gratitude for our troops and respect for our flag. You start disrupting that, well, you're going to gain some more power. And I think that's what they're all about. I think there are parties that could care less what they disrupt, just so they're disrupting. And I think the national anthem is just another cog in that.
I was reading the bio about Janine singing at various venues, and when I read this next paragraph, of which I'd like to read right now on the air, it really hit home to me, and I'll explain why. It says her endeavor would eventually culminate on September 14th, 2014, the 200th anniversary of the Star-Spangled Banner at Fort McHenry, site of Francis Scott Key's historical composition. And when I read that, Jefferson, it really hit home to me because 2 months ago, I had a veteran that had been back at Fort McHenry make arrangements for me to receive one of the flags that had flown over that fort. And boy, did it bring tears to my eyes when I read that.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, it's if you and the other thing is that story's never being told. I mean, you go to your public school today and say, tell me about Francis Scott Key. I bet you're going to be really hard pressed to hear the story. Francis Scott. You have to forget him. He was a lawyer, but he did not set out to write this hateful anthem of privilege. He was someone that was inspired. He was fearing for his life, but then he saw that, brave people who believed in this country risked their lives to preserve it. And he was so inspired, he wrote these words. And, you know, he did it at the Battle of Fort McHenry. And I think, you know, not enough people know, you know, about how significant that is. And, you know, you receiving a flag from there, that's you know, that's what you can almost say that is the birthplace of pride.
Absolutely.
You know, in America is Fort McHenry.
How can people watch this documentary? Give us the complete background of how, where, and why, and what they have to do.
Oh, listen, you know, we've gotten such great feedback on it so far. We've gotten it from school teachers, from veterans, which we love, from active people, from military families. So our mission is we want as many people to see this as possible. So we're trying to make it available in every venue, every place we possibly can. So right now, it is streaming. It has been since July 4th. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. It's National Anthem Girl. You can go to Amazon Prime and watch it. For those people that don't have Amazon Prime, you can actually stream it on our website. The website is AnthemGirlDoc, D-O-C, AnthemGirlDoc.com. You can go there. You can find out all the different ways to watch the movie. You can find a place to buy the DVD. Actually, and if you want to bring the movie to your town, to your civic club, to your school, there's a place that you can go there too and send us your information, and we'll come do a screening for you. Maybe even get Janine Stang herself there.
Oh my! You know, you mentioned the kids and you mentioned schools, and this is where it's got to start. The denigration of patriotism in this country has been going on now far too long, and whether it's the kindergartners or the grade school or the junior high or the high school or on up to the universities, the younger generation has got to know the value of our country and what all the blood, sweat, and tears and lives were for. What about this going into the school systems? I know many school administrators. I'd like to give them your number, your email address, whatever, to get this film so that it could be seen in the schools.
Oh, please do. Yeah, give us. If they go to that website, they can also get in touch with me directly at producer@kellysfilmworks.net. All one word. Get in touch with me that way as well. Also, I'll give you some telephone information when we get off the air here. But yeah, this is because a lot of schools intercurriculum they have a place for watching movies and leading discussions and things. And this is the perfect movie. It's not just a historical lesson. It is watching a girl's journey. So you're actually getting a little bit of a travelogue across America and seeing it through her eyes. And on the other side, Janine, she's a young girl. She's beautiful. She's very Italian, very New York, and she's a fun storyteller to watch. So she's engaging, for the kids to watch. And she's somebody really to admire, boys and girls alike, because she's someone with so many gifts, so many talents, and she chose to use it for other people. You can't help but be inspired. So yeah, school administrators, homeschool groups have been getting in touch with us. Private schools can get in touch with us through the website or through the email there, because we think this is important, and it's great watching, and it's a great discussion starter.
Jefferson, let me ask you one final thing here this morning. I mean, what's next? What's in your future?
You know what? This is our future right now. We're going to go back to doing a couple of other narrative movies. We've got a couple of scripts on hand, so we're going to get back to the narrative thing until the next documentary inspires us. But right now, we're really enjoying, sitting at the cool kids table with somebody like Janine Stang. So we're getting together on some things every now and then. But we'll have a movie out sometime within the next year or two. It'll be an original piece. But right now, we're just enjoying all the people we're getting to meet through this. Like I said, we're getting to sit at the cool kids table with Janine Stang.
I wish you well, and I'll have my engineer take those numbers down after we cut off on this phone call. But Jefferson Moore, thank you so much. Talking about National Anthem Girl, and I say this and I mean it. God bless you, sir, and thank you for being on the program this morning.
Thanks, Mr. Bell. God bless America.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting, gentlemen. I hope he'll come back in the future. And Wheels, if you would get his phone numbers and everything, I'll be in touch with him, and we'll find out more about how we can get that movie, that documentary around the area. Okay? Weather forecast. Oh, my goodness sakes, I've got to get into the weather forecast here really fast. I want to remind you that this hour, the weather's being brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, 50 years of excellence. And they're really going ahead, bigger and better every year, serving you, your family, and your business. With the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. And they've got 2 offices to serve you. First of all, at 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. Remember, work with the best, the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, and it looks like we're going to be warming up as we get towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, just a very slight breeze, and looking at a high of 34 tonight. Nice and clear. It is going to get cold, low of 12 tomorrow. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 44. East wind is about 6 miles an hour, changing to the west by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of about 16. By Friday, looks like sunny skies with a high of 43. Overnight low of 19. Saturday, warming up to about 50, and Sunday, 52. That's what's your weather forecast for 7th Rand.
Ooh, it's still going to stay relatively cool for the... Cool nothing. It's cold out there. My goodness, 11 degrees when I signed on this morning. The weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they are the best at what they do, providing the absolute most professional accounting services to you, your family, and your business. Offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I am very honored to have this morning, coming up in the next hour, Pastor Paul Thompson. He's developed a friendship with me and this program, and we're looking forward to having him on our program next hour for the entirety of the hour. And we've got a lot of different segments to go into, so if you have calls and comments, feel free to give us a jingle with Pastor Paul Thompson on the program next hour. While I have just a moment, I want to tell you about all the fun things that are going on over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Well, let me explain it this way. They're having right now a great big harvest sale. That's right, a big harvest sale, and they're offering 40% off. I am not kidding. No money down, no interest, up to 48 months on approved credit. And all the furniture and the mattresses and the dining room sets and the motion furniture and the bedroom groups and all this and more, 40% off. Woo-hoo. You better get in and check it out today. All the fall flooring closeout specials, the window covering specials, and like this, a dining room set, regularly $11.75, now just $6.99. I mean, don't walk, run over to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more right now for this big harvest sale. Jeff and the rest of the crew serving you at 459 Overland in Burley. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Very nice people. I got time for a call if you want to give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to tell you, this is a public service announcement, and I'm very inquisitive and questioning about road and trail closures in the South Hills, and I'm concerned. And the Minidoka Ranger District is going to be hosting an open house on November 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Cache County Commissioners' Chambers at 1459 Overland in Burley. And again on November 14th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And then another one from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Sawtooth National Forest Supervisor's Office at 370 American Avenue in Jerome. Now, the open houses are being held to help the public understand the proposed seasonal route road restriction project. I'm concerned about this because the fall of the year, many people like myself that are not normally going to get a hunting tag, we go up and enjoy the beautiful scenery of our South Hills, and our forest. And they say they're going to have forest specialists on hand to answer questions and provide information to the public. I hope so, because I think information needs to be given and offered, much more so than hearing about closures that we're all extremely worried about. Start talking closures, and the American public, the taxpayers, really own that land, and they'd better have a voice in it. And for more information, call 208-678-0430. I'll tell you more about that as the days draw closer to that open house. Want to remind you also, real quick, about our friends at Mad River Laser. Hello, Nicole. How are you? This weekend, they're going to have an early bird sale special on Friday night, November 1st, and then Saturday, another big part of the sale being that it's the first Saturday of the month. Oh, and you'd better get in there and see all of their beautiful Christmas home decor. It is phenomenal. And I urge you to stop in. This store is so unique, and they offer so many unique services to you and your business and your family. It's located at 502 East Street in Rupert. Mad River Laser with Nicole and Rupert. And, of course, the telephone number to call, 436-2293. Mad River Laser. Don't you put it off. Be there. Let's see, what else have I got going on here? Told you about that open house, and we told you that next hour we've got Pastor Paul Thompson. I didn't mention that tomorrow, Thursday, Halloween, Sharon's going to fill in for me. I've got a bunch of things I have to take care of, a bunch of appointments, etc., and she's going to be filling in the program tomorrow on Halloween, and she's got a lot of interesting guests, and I'm sure that you'll tune in. So she's going to run Zeb at the Ranch tomorrow on Thursday, so be a part of it. Right now, we're going to go listen to what the big boys in government have messed up in our lives from CBS News, and then we'll be back in about 7 minutes, like I said, with Pastor Paul Thompson of the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls. Don't go away. Wheels, it's all yours. Good morning, and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch on what looks to be a very, very beautiful day, but cold. And I don't like cold weather. It was 11 degrees when we signed on this morning at 8:06, and I don't think we've seen a lot of improvement, but it's going to start to warm up by the weekend, I hope. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations involved right now with a great big fall tire sale. Stop in and see them today. Along with some of the other advertisers, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with their friends. I also want to acknowledge again that great big sale at Redder Showcase. It's going to be one night only this Friday night, November 1st. Holy cow. That's going to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, go to 9 o'clock at night. They're going to have Papa Kelsey's cinnamon rolls, free gifts to the first 50 customers that come in the door. They're going to have factory representatives on hand. They're going to have prize drawings. What are you waiting for? Up to 18 months, same as cash on approved credit at Redder Showcase. Big sale Friday night, November 1st, starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. Don't you forget it. Real quick, also, again, a reminder about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. And they've teamed up and they're offering the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat that Lennox featuring remote control access, so you literally can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. Make yourself comfortable. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. This next gentleman on the program I have the utmost respect for, and the big reason is he's not going to be cowed or backed into a corner. He's going to speak his mind, and he believes in the entitled premise of what the Bible says for us. Pastor Paul Thompson, Eastside Baptist Church. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's good to be back at the ranch with you this morning.
A little chilly at the ranch.
It is.
Yeah.
But you said it right. It is beautiful outside.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, you got to take a little bit of the bad with the good, the ugly with the beautiful, and, we live in the greatest place in the world.
We really do, don't we, Zeb?
Absolutely.
This is spectacular.
I want to get right into it. You have been the target of a lot of people saying, how dare he say that, and why is he speaking out on that subject, etc. I want to go into various subjects that I think are of great importance to our society, not just here in Magic Valley, but across the United States, our moral compass and what's right and wrong. And when I say all that, especially the right and wrong, I think, like it's pointed out in the Bible, what was right is now becoming wrong, and what's wrong is now becoming right.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And when you look at issues like the abortion issue, and I know that you've been standing up for stopping abortion in any way, shape, or form, and I could not agree with you more. It's nothing more than, to me, called infanticide. And I would stand behind you and with you on trying to get this stopped and the promotion of the Planned Parenthoods across the nation, etc. Where are we, in your opinion, nationwide on abortions?
Yeah, Zeb, I think when we look at the landscape of the totality of the nation, I think, is becoming more divided on the issue. We're seeing more of the promotion of the infanticide position, and we're seeing the advancement of the total abolition of abortion. And both of those seem to be taking root and setting their heels in their respective regions and states. And so then, when you bring it down here to where we're at here in Idaho, I think that we would find most people would be in agreement that abortion is murder. But yet at the same time, we're finding most people are afraid to speak for it, to speak against abortion or to speak for life, or they're afraid of Planned Parenthood, or they've convinced themselves that the Supreme Court is the supreme God and we can't do anything unless the Supreme Court gives us permission.
Pastor, tip that mic up just a little bit straight. There you go. Murder. Infanticide. And then we are recently hearing stories within the last couple of years of, if the mother doesn't want the baby, putting the baby on a gurney and taking it into a room out of the birth room and letting it die. Right. I mean, this isn't the America I was born and raised in.
No, as a matter of fact, Zeb, I don't think that there's any civilized society that sees this as actually a good idea. This is what barbaric people do. This is what pagan, sinful-filled people do. They have low respect for the creation of what God has said is very good.
How can people, and I really sit and I think about this quite a bit, how can people, regardless of their politics, how can they sit there and be so cold and so calloused against a newborn child to just say, push the gurney into that closet, let the child expire? I can't even envision this.
Yeah, I really can't either. It really has to come from what the Scripture teaches us in Romans 1, that man has to suppress truth in order to advance in sin. And so man knows that this is sinful. Man knows this is wrong. But he has to suppress it to the point that he can actually do that.
But when you talk about literally letting a child expire or killing it at full term at the moment of birth, why aren't there laws applicable to murder and infanticide, and why aren't they being enforced?
Yeah, it's because people are afraid of government. People are afraid of money. They're afraid of losing money. They're afraid of losing popularity, and they have no fear of God. That really is at the core of it, Zeb. There is a lack of the fear of God.
What do we need to do? I mean, I'm sure there's enough good people that don't want to see this heinous act continue with the enormous numbers that it has. So what do we do? I mean, you're talking to the Twin Falls City Council, and you were asking them for some real changes on how they address abortion, etc. Are you making any headway? I mean, what can we do to help?
Yeah, Zeb, it's going to take a groundswell of grassroots people that are going to actually come out of the woodwork and demand our cities and demand our state to stop this insanity of murdering of children in the womb.
And that would, I assume, also getting the elbow of the politicians and going up the ladder that way also.
Yeah, you know, when I stop and think about the whole picture of this, Zeb, out of this good society that we live in, filled with people who want this to stop, we've got to find people who are willing to run for office, run for city council, run for county commissioners, run for state offices, run for national legislative positions. We got to find them to run, and then the groundswell grassroots people got to elect them. We got to show up and vote for them.
But there also is another problem, a caveat from that juncture forward. We've got to make sure that we light the match and hold their feet to the fire.
Absolutely. We got to do it, and we got to do it quickly. We right now, I mean, local elections happen here within a week. And every statistic shows us that this is the lowest turnout cycle of the elections, and yet everyone tells you that your local elections are the most important. That tells me that there's a gap, there's a missing fired gap here, that our communities don't understand how important a local election is. We got to show up on Tuesday, and we got to elect people that we know fear God and fear the law of the land. And the law of the land supports the support of life.
Yeah. When I sit here and I do a lot of research for this program every day, and it involves calling people all over the United States and, for that matter, at other points in the world to get their opinions, to make sure I have all the facts. And you sit and you find out about a woman in Detroit that basically has had so many abortions and basically using abortive tactics as a form of birth control. And I'm just absolutely, it's repugnant to think that there are people like that on this earth. Same in New York City, Chicago, all over the United States. We've got to do something to get some semblance of decency and morality back in our system.
We do. And really what's got to happen is we got to realize this is happening right here.
Absolutely.
It's not something that's only happening somewhere else. This is happening, and Zeb, your listeners are smart and they're informed and engaged people. But there are 258 babies last year that were murdered in the city of Twin Falls. I don't need just the city of Twin Falls to show up. I need the whole valley to put the pressure on the city of Twin Falls and the state of Idaho to stop allowing the murdering of babies to happen.
Are you getting anywhere? I mean, when you talk to city council members or you talk to politicians, are they just giving you the same old limp handshake and lip service and then walk away? What's happening?
Yeah, I think we're seeing there are some very bold and God-fearing city council members and county commissioners and state legislators. By the grace of God, we have some of those. But right now, we don't have the majority. The majority are afraid of Planned Parenthood.
Well, why are they afraid? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. It is primarily they're told that the state of Idaho, or the city of Twin Falls most specifically, will get sued. And so we have to ask the question, well, who's going to sue them if we say we want to stop the murdering of babies in our city? It would have to come from the only organization that's murdering babies in our city, and that's Planned Parenthood. So if the lawsuit is the fear of the lawsuit costing taxpayers, so here's the argument that's behind it is we want to be responsible for the people who elected us, who told us to come here, and be careful with how the money of Twin Falls is spent. And so they would say that it's irresponsible to put a law in place that would automatically kick back a lawsuit that they're convinced we would lose. And I think that that's fear. They're afraid of men and not afraid of God. And so from that, they're convinced hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars will then have to be spent to fight the lawsuit that would come against
So
them.
basically, the bottom line, and being very callous when I say this, it's the love of money superseding the honoring of human life.
Absolutely it is. I wouldn't say it any other way. That's exactly what it is.
It's despicable.
It is.
Despicable. What about other churches, other pastors, other power players? Are they helping you?
So here, this is an interesting component, part of the landscape, I think, that we live in. The answer to that is yes, there are. And then we also have to say there's also a lot that aren't. And many of them would rather just sit back and see how it works out at the end of the day. But by the grace of God...
Hold on, Paul.
Yes.
Pardon me. I've got to interrupt you right there. Lots of those that sit back and see how it's going to work out at the end of the day. That is the problem with America today in general. Everybody sits on their hands and says, oh, well, why don't you go do that instead of helping?
Right. And it really is. And that's part of the shame that sits on the Western church, is that we've become so comfortable in our game-playing part in the community rather than our truth-telling responsibility and duty in the community.
And you know I've talked to you about this on previous programs, and I'm going to mention it again probably 3 or 4 times during this hour. I am appalled, and I can't use some of the words I really am on the air, but I am appalled as to the lack of professionalism. I'll use that word, by pastors and the ministerial profession, of just not saying anything about the nation's woes and ills from the pulpit, because I've said it on the air, I'll say it again, I think they're cowards.
Well, I think that's a true assessment of some of these who have found a profession or found a career in a field that they can basically pat people on the back, tickle their ears from time to time, gather a crowd, or make themselves seem as though they're the real seriously spiritual people.
Yes.
But in reality, what we need are some pastors in the pulpits across the land with a backbone, with compassion, with genuine, sincere compassion for the communities that we live in, to speak the truth.
In the old days, and you remember the last time you were out here at the studio, we talked about this. In the old days, the church was held on Sundays in the schoolhouse, in the old Western communities, etc., i.e., think back to the television show Little House on the Prairie. And the pastor would get up and give a sermon which would encircle many of the community's woes and how people could get involved in a Christian nature and help settle those problems. That's lacking.
It is lacking, and that's, I think, the part of that problem, Zeb, is that the communities have been speaking this language of separation of church and state for so long that nobody really knows what that means.
Yeah, they're scared.
Everyone thinks that separation of church and state means that the pastor should go sit down in a quiet little corner and be quiet.
Yeah.
And separation of church and state, it literally means that the government has no authority over the church. And so in that blessed separation, the church ought to take her full liberty and speak into the community that she's in, so that she is the pillar and the buttress of truth.
Absolutely. And that pastor up at the pulpit with his sermon on Sunday could do so much to alert and educate people about really the ills in society and where we're going down the drain.
Right.
Absolutely. I've got to do a commercial break, and we're going to have more, and we welcome your phone calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about our dear friends at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. A beautiful place for seniors to live the good life with their friends. And I urge you to call Matt and Kelly Wiggins and ask to have a tour of this beautiful facility where they provide housekeeping daily and, of course, 3 really wonderful meals a day, local transportation. Seniors Seniors, you better check on this now. Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors, living the good life with friends. And that number to call, 650-4979. We're on the air with Pastor Paul Thompson of the Eastside Baptist Church. I want to go through quite a varied list of topics here. I said that I thought our society, and I'm going to be blunt, is maybe tip that way just a little bit, Paul. I know it's the old Herbert Hoover microphone.
Gotcha.
There you go. I've said our society is literally on the verge of, pardon the expression, going to hell. And when you pick up stories in our local newspaper and you see stories on the national news about drag queens reading books to little children and being a focal point of a community, my wife and I, we just absolutely looked at each other and said, what in the world is going on? Is there nothing left of morality in America? Your thoughts?
Yeah, Zeb, last Thursday I hosted an event in Twin Falls, me and a couple of pastors, and we invited all the candidates that were running for city council in Twin Falls to come to this forum. And one of the questions that we asked them was, would they be willing to support an ordinance that would forbid this drag queen story hour from taking place during regular business hours of the public library of Twin Falls? Now, to my knowledge, it hasn't happened yet, but it is a growing trend across the nation.
Didn't it occur in the city park, though?
The city park, for the last couple of years, in the month of June, during Pride Month of the LGBT community.
That's another topic.
Which should probably be recalled Shameful Month.
Yes.
It has happening. I'm convinced it's going to happen, and the push is going to be there eventually. So the sad news is that most people think that this is just people dressing up in costumes. It's like someone dressing up in a dragon costume or in a lion costume.
Like for Halloween.
For Halloween. So certainly I respect and understand that the freedom of speech allows people to dress however they want to and address things the way they want to. But everything that we know about drag queen story hour that's happening in public libraries in our country is lewd, it's disgusting, and it is anything but freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I wanted to know, and I wanted my community to know, that if we elect these people who do have, and by the way, at that forum, those who are sitting council members say that it is not the duty or the responsibility or the jurisdiction of the city council to determine what happens at the City of Twin Falls Public Library. It's what they do with the abortion issue. They point the finger to someone else's responsibility. No, I'm a taxpayer in the City of Twin Falls. And the City of Twin Falls has a lot to say about what happens or what can happen at the public library. And so my question to them was, would you not allow this to at least happen during regular business hours? We're not stopping someone from exercising their freedom of speech. Do it after hours. Do it in a time when children who don't know what's happening aren't going to show up and see this disgusting.
Have we in America, being founded upon Christian principles, have we lost any semblance of what God says in the Bible? And with the modern era of certain ministers and pastors standing up and almost putting themselves in a godlike figure at the pulpit instead of really preaching about God's word, have we reached the point where we can't turn this bus around?
Yeah, probably dead air probably says a lot there, Zeb. I do not believe we cannot turn the bus around, but it's going to take time. And it's going to take God-fearing people to get back on their feet and show up at city council meetings and speak their voice.
But didn't you make a statement in the paper, and I want to read this because I absolutely agree with you, that it is time or even past time, and I quote, if your pastor is some kind of amalgamated philosopher/innovator, then love him enough to either point him to the reliable Bible or replace him with someone who will obey his master. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is. And you know, a great tragedy in across the land is that there really are people who are in the position or in the office of pastor who really are not pastors.
Absolutely.
They're more of a public, they're really more of a motivational speaker.
Wouldn't it be almost the terminology of pro-humanist?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know, Isaiah puts it, woe to you who argues with his maker. Woe to you who says to God, I know how to do this better than you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, there's so many things that we could discuss on this, but for a congregation to accept, I'll underline that word, that filth, whether it's drag queens or whatever, accept that as normal or, oh, well, they're people too, that to me just takes the Bible and throws it on the ground.
Yeah, it really does. It throws dirt on the sacred word of the Holy God.
Absolutely.
There is a compassionate position that the church must take into the community of those who are entrenched in sin, but the position is not the support of it. The position is, I love you enough to say what you're doing is making a mockery of God. I love you enough to say that you are like the clay telling the potter how the potter how to craft the clay. And so the tragic, whenever the pulpit doesn't do that in the community, those who are in their sins and have suppressed the truth enough, they don't know that they're in sin.
Absolutely. Pastor Paul Thompson with the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls. We've got another half hour. I want to let everybody know your calls are welcome. Don't be a coward. Don't be cowardly. Give us a call and let us know your thoughts. I want to remind you that Mark Rosa wants your vote to be mayor of Heyburn. He's invested in Heyburn. He owns personal homes over in that area and rental properties, and he's a businessman. And he said, we need smart leadership in Heyburn that will keep taxes and utility rates in line with neighboring cities. And he wants to never overturn the will of the people by pushing through items that were voted down. He wants your vote on November 5th. Vote for Mark Rosa for Heyburn Mayor, and this is paid for by Mark Rosa for Mayor Committee. We're going to send this over to our main studios and be right back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Couple of reminders real quick. I want to hit the big sale coming up on Friday, November 1st, put on by the Bennett Boys Auction Service in Twin Falls at 1430 Poplar Street. Don't forget, they're going to have the Carl and Diane Legg moving auction. Now, these folks used to be the former owners of my grandfather's attic, 38-year collection of beautiful, handcrafted quality furniture. I've got the colored pictures here of all the furniture they're going to be selling. Outstanding. Dining room furniture, living room furniture, bedroom furniture, master bedroom furniture, all of this and more at this big sale Friday night at 1430 Poplar Street in Twin Falls. 5:30 is the starting time, and the sale managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. Also, real quick, our electronics headquarters for this area, for Magic Valley, there's nobody better than Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena serving you with a staff that really cares about service with all your electronic needs, home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereo speakers, complete sound systems, and televisions. Holy moly, they've got them. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. They are open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, and that's Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley, and the telephone number to call 678-6997. We're on the air with a friend of this program, Pastor Paul Thompson of Eastside Baptist Church, and we're talking about various and sundry items that need to be cleaned up in our society. One thing I want to mention, and I am absolutely livid about this, we keep hearing stories every day, Pastor, about the transgender issue in America. Some people think they're a giraffe one day, the next day they're Minnie Mouse, and then the next day they might be the opposite sex, etc. It's absolutely repulsive. My biology teacher, Jerry Spano, him back in high school would be turning over in his grave right now. Science says there's only two genders. That's all I will ever respect in this country. But yet we have the transgender men trying to obtain positions of importance on various girls' athletic teams and destroying girls' athletics. And the Democratic Party is akin to this and a big promoter of this because they're trying to push through the Equality Act. All that being said, how do you respond?
Yeah, the citizens, the hardworking, blue-collar citizens of the nation need to stay in contact with your legislators, and you need to make sure that they understand that we do not want this Equality Act passed. It may get passed in one branch, but it cannot pass the second, and it must not pass even into the third. So what we've got to do is this ultimately is not so much a attack against science. It is, but you know this, Zeb, it is primarily an attack against God.
That's right.
Not everybody in the nation understands that. So at the very core, at the very first place here, it is an attack against common, logical, true science. There is no other gender but male and female. And any other identity of that, the Bible was very clear that we move into positions of embracing sin, embracing abominations.
That's right.
And so, again, do people wrestle with and think that they're really not who they were born as? And I say they probably really do. But the reality is we've got to help them. We can't force them to ignore the feelings they have, but we've got to help them and give instruction to their feelings.
I can't say it as eloquently as you can, being a pastor, but I'll just say this very simplified. God doesn't make mistakes.
It's very correct. He does not make mistakes. And we do live in a world that is fallen because men are sinful. And so as a result of men and the moral sin, the moral estate that man is in, we have this capacity to sin. As a result of that, we entertain these ideas that this might be the real identity of who I am.
Well, the real fact is that men, and there's been many cases, basketball teams, soccer teams, powerlifting, bicycle racing, men have infiltrated the women's ranks, which has totally destroyed the Title IX philosophy of creating a fairness for women's sports and possibly more income, and the American public sits back and does nothing. If I had my daughter in school right now, she's a mother of 3, and those days are long gone, but if I had my daughter in school right now and there was any opportunity for this filth and this sleaze to provide a member to try to force his way into a girl's team, I'll guarantee you 2 things would happen. Number 1, there'd be a face-to-face with the superintendent and the school board like right now, and number 2, I'd pull my daughter out of that school.
Right. And Zeb, that needs to happen right now. Fathers,
it's going to grow like a cancer.
It will. Fathers need to protect their daughters from the predator who wants to attack against
them. And it
them.
is predatorship.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It totally is. And so fathers need to step up in this day. Men need to step up and be men. And we just need to stop the nonsense of what's happening in this. And if it means that the society won't bend to our calling them into logical understanding, then we do need to remove our children from that.
You know, the idiocy and the immorality of having Democrats, and you've heard them on television as late as last week, another Democrat spoke up and said, well, with the Equality Act, if transgender men want to shower with the women in the girls' locker room, that's all right with me. This is insane.
It is, and it's just really the paving the way to increase more sin, to make way for this sin so that other sins can be normalized along the way.
But, Paul, the bottom line right there is people, I don't think today, care about what the Bible says or what God says. They're going to float their own boat, and they think they are invincible.
Right, and I think probably part of that that problem that exists in our country today, Zeb, is that from the pulpit we've essentially embraced more of the culture than we have of the truth of the Scripture. And so there was a day, Zeb, I'm sure when you were growing up, that what got taught at home, got taught at the school, got taught at the church. And today, we can't even say that the church is speaking the truth at all times. And so the decay of the family has caused the decay in the culture.
Am I wrong in making this assumption? Tell me. That because of the acceptance, and I underline that word, of a filthy culture in our society, I would say that there are many, many pastors that are afraid to get up in the pulpit and say anything that would denigrate that lifestyle, because out in the audience there will be parents that might pull the money out of the collection plate and go home.
Yeah, and it's a real reality, and the tragedy is that would expose really the motivation behind that pastor, that he's more interested in the money, he's more interested in his comfortable life than he is in speaking the truth.
Absolutely.
When we read,
well, he's better serving man than he would God.
It's exactly right. He's showing his fear of men rather than his fear of God, his respect of men's philosophies rather than godly truths.
Another subject I want to get into this morning, and as you probably are very well aware, I will not weaken, I will not back up to the Times News and some of their completely idiotic op-eds, and Jim Jones from Eden, former Supreme Court justice that thinks he's now a climatologist, and telling us all about global warming and how we're all going to burn up in just a matter of years. I have said, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, Pastor, that I really have thought and sought articles and newspaper stories, etc., on any leftist person, Democrat, etc., that really in their onslaught of trying to get us all to believe in global warming and climate change, I haven't ever heard any of them ever mention their belief in God.
That would be really interesting to see where they would stand on a creator, an almighty creator, God, the God of the Bible. And, I think there's no doubt that we can see that through, as long as we've been recording climate temperatures and such, that there have been shifts, and there's been times when the glaciers increase and decrease.
Yep.
Right. And so at one level, one can say yes, but we don't want to identify ourselves with those who worship the planet.
They being the environmentalists and these people that are committed to one word, and that word is control. Right. That's the word they want. But when they start preaching and teaching that we're all going to burn up in 11 years, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez group and those kind of insane people, to me, there's only one being, and I had a young man at one of my lunch bunches say it very succinctly one day. He said, I wish these people would remember that God has his hand on the thermostat, not man.
Right. That's well put. It really is. A sovereign God who is the God of the Bible, there is nothing that happens that is not done by his directing hand. Again, I mean, I could quote from Isaiah probably on any topic we could talk about.
Yeah.
Isaiah even identifies, as God informs him, that he's going to raise up a man from the Medo-Persian Empire by the name of Cyrus. He so specifically names him, and then he says he leads him by the right hand. There is no government, there is no climate, there is no atmosphere that is outside of the control of a sovereign God.
You know, I am in Bible study. I have my own little Bible study and just finished really going through Job. And correct me if I'm wrong on the chapter, because it's over in my Bible on the desk, but in chapter 37, I think it is, of Job, they really lay out the power structure of what God controls.
Yeah.
Which is everything.
It is. And Job does this, the Psalms do this, Isaiah does this, Jeremiah does this.
Yes.
Who did God ever ask, how should I do this?
Yeah. I didn't remember getting a memo or a phone call or an email.
No.
Yeah. But the climate change freaks, and I'm going to call them that, they are so committed to this, it's turned into a religion to them.
Yeah, it really has, Zeb, because they've shown that that's their God. That's who they're bowing down to.
Yeah.
It's the same as how people treat the Supreme Court. That this decision, or this, as we're interpreting this, is the way that it is. And so when people think that climate change and that the end of all things as we know it is on us within 10 to 15 years, then they've shown that that's who really they're worshiping.
I've got to do a weather forecast, but give me a short answer on this. Would you concur with me that today, very unfortunately, people are more concerned about local governmental problems, national governmental problems, than they are really about looking to the heavens and saying, God help us, please?
Yeah, you've asked a pastor to give you a short answer, Zeb. That's a hard thing. But yes, Zeb, society is more concerned about the lesser and little concern for the eternal, all-being, supreme being, God himself.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that we're on the air with Pastor Paul Thompson. I really appreciate his frankness and honesty on the program. And I want to remind you right now, it's about 14 minutes to 11. Where are you going to go to lunch today? May I make a suggestion? I urge you to try Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley, right across from the golf course. I mean, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, chili burgers, steak and salad, everything absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. They're open Tuesday to Thursday, 11 to 8, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 9. And believe me, you're going to have a great dining experience at Edith's Cafe. And when I picked up all the menu items, I said this yesterday, and I was going through the desserts, they make my favorite. I would walk barefoot through hot coals for peach cobbler a la mode. All of this, great people serving you at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. You stop over and enjoy lunch there today. Right now, also, we're going to have our weather forecast, and the weather brought to you right now by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, Don Scarrow and the crew, and they've got a website, scarrowsmeats.com. You can pull that up and look at all the delicious meats available through Scarrows Meats. Number to call, 324-7657, Scarrows Meats over in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, and it looks like we're going to be warming up as we get towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, just a very slight breeze, and looking at a high of 34 tonight. Nice and clear. It is going to get cold, low of 12 tomorrow. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 44. East wind is about 6 miles an hour, changing to the west by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of about 16. By Friday, looks like sunny skies with a high of 43. Overnight lows 19. Saturday warming up to about 50, and Sunday 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And every weather forecast this hour brought to you by Scarrows Meats, and they are located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. On the air with Pastor Paul Thompson. Pastor, I wanted to end our segment this morning about something that's very near and dear to me, and I make no bones about it. It rules my program every day, and that's patriotism, along with my Christianity. Those are two things I will not waver on. And I firmly believe that Christians can be devout patriots to this great land, the United States of America. How would you respond?
Yeah, I do think, Zeb, that Christians in this nation live under the kindness of God by having a government that gives them a voice, that gives them the freedoms that we have. And so it is a responsibility, I would even reflect it in that way, that we would be patriotic toward our nation, loving it from the founding positions, supporting it in that respect, and even for the advancement of it, of the republic form of government that we so love, into places of the world where people are suppressed and are in great hardships. So a love for a nation. It's hard for a Christian. Can I love this nation as it exists right now, as she continues to unravel? Well, that's not what we're in love with. We're in love, and we bless the Lord for the fabric, not the fabric of the nation, but the foundation that the nation is set upon.
Yes.
And that foundation is there founded from those, not necessarily everyone who formed this nation were God-fearing people, but they understood something uniquely about this Bible. And so they established a nation under that, with that as its framework. And so for a Christian to be patriotic is really that he loves how the nation was established in the place of fear and respect of God.
I mentioned this earlier this morning, but God has blessed me in my other occupation as being a professional announcer for various events all over the world, literally. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that of all the many thousands and thousands and thousands of times, I still get a little emotional, pardon me, that I've stood and announced our national anthem, it still gets to me. And I never will forget when I was announcing at the 1996 Olympics in Georgia, that when our boys and girls went to the podium and received the gold, and that national anthem was played, and they unfurled that red, white, and blue from the ceiling as the top flag for that respective event, you tell me if there's not a lot of patriotism.
There really is, isn't there, Zeb? And you know, even for me, just this last Monday, whenever I stood before my city council, every city council meeting in Twin Falls is opened with a pledge to the United States flag. And it's a really unique experience for a community to speak these words that mean something and they have significance to them. I even, while I'm saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, am even shook in my very being about what I'm about to do and asking a people to honor God while I'm saying I love my country and I love where God has given me the privilege to live.
Well, look at the Judeo-Christian principles that this country was founded on. And look at the blood, sweat, tears, and lives. Look at the situation with Fort McHenry. Look at the people that held that flag up because the Brits could throw everything at them and they wouldn't let go. Look at all the circumstances that this country, we've had our failabilities and our failures, but we've overcome those. And we're still the greatest country ever on the face of the earth. But we are starting to get away from God's principles in the Bible, and that's causing a complete fragmentation.
It really is, and if we don't do something quick, all of these privileges that we have, they will be gone from us, and they may not be able to be
Why don't people believe that? Why do they scoff at you when you say that?
You know, that's a really good question, Zeb. I think that they just really don't see the significance of the shifts that are happening. These are not just simple changes of the seasons from summer to fall to winter to spring. These are complete rewriting shifts. These are, we're done with this, and now we're going to start with this. They're completely redone, reinventing things, and people don't see that that's what's happening.
Well, look at television. I mean, quickly, the TV primetime.
Yeah.
Deanne and I won't watch it. There's not one single program on prime time that we will watch because they're absolutely filthy. They're subjective to all the bad language you could ever possibly put on the air. The so-called sitcoms are not funny whatsoever. And if it's not a news story or a sporting event, I won't even turn it on.
Yeah. Yeah, which there again is even we could call it a rewriting of the culture.
What happened to Andy of Mayberry and Dick Van Dyke and the Real McCoys and all that? People laugh at me when I say that, but that was family situations you could sit down and laugh as a family and you could relate to.
Exactly, and the laughing would be genuine laughing.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be laughing of, I shouldn't be laughing at this.
That's exactly right.
This is wholesome, this is good, this is healthy laughter.
As a pastor, we can pray for those times to come back, but can they?
Yeah. So that's, we can, and you're right, we should pray that we can recover. It's the only way these things are going to happen, Zeb, is whenever the Church of the Living God rediscovers her duty to be a pillar of buttress and truth in her community. And if she'll do this we see the historic method of this, that when the church revives, that there's awakening across the land. And the United States, I've heard many people describe the United States as the land of revivals. And Zeb, it's been a long time since our nation has seen a revival. It's time for the church to get back on her knees. Ask the living God to forgive us of our sins, and then ask God to help us rise up and then re-engage in this culture.
I wished we had more time, and this hour just flew by.
It flies by.
Pastor Paul Thompson, Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls, and I mean this sincerely. God bless you. I appreciate that.
Zeb, thanks always for the opportunity to be here at the ranch.
Thank you. We'll wrap things up in just a minute. I want to say a big shout-out to our great Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a fall tire sale, big fall tire sale, and they've been doing the right thing since 1952. I urge you to stop in, check out all the tires for your vehicles, your trailers, etc. They have the people that really know the tires that will best fit your driving, so stop in and see them today, along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. All of this and so much more, but service reigns supreme. They really take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley, the best. That's not brag. That's a fact. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm going to be gone tomorrow, and I've got Sharon Wilmot filling in for me on Halloween. And that's going to be tomorrow on the program, but I'll be back again next Monday right here at Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say at the end of the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that we really adhere to on this show, in God we trust. See you next Monday at 8:06. Listen to Sharon tomorrow. Take care.